All right, hello everyone. We're going to give it just a few moments to allow more people to join. Okay, it looks like our entrants are slowing a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and get us kicked off. Greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for our first Stakeholder Update webinar of 2026. My name is Hilary Navarro, and I'm the Chief Communications and Engagement Officer. And as per usual, I will be guiding us through our agenda and making sure we stay on time and on track today. So as I said, this is our first Stakeholder Update of 2026, but it is not our last. We have 3 more scheduled for this year, one in April, one in July, and one in October. And registration is open for those at Verra/events if you're interested in registering now. Before I get started, I want to confirm that the slides from today's session and also the recording of today's session will be shared with all registrants at the conclusion of the meeting, so you will have those for reference. All right, next slide, please. Today, our goal is to share Verra's 2026 priorities with you all, department by department, so you know what to expect from us in 2026. So we're going to start with some CEO insights and high-level reflections from our CEO, Mandy Rambaros, and then we'll move on to our priorities by department. So for program management, program development and innovation, IT, and finally communications and engagement, before we end with an open Q&A section. So I do want to flag to all of you that our broad scale stakeholder survey will be sent to our stakeholder list, including you all, next week. So if you see anything in here that you'd like to give us feedback on, if you'd like to further tweak and shift some of the things we're thinking, your feedback on that survey is going to be absolutely vital to that. It shouldn't take longer than 15 minutes, and we really hope that you take the time to give us your feedback in that survey, which again, you should see next week. So one final reminder before we get started today, you can type your questions and or comments on anything we're saying in the Q&A module at the bottom of your Zoom console at any time during the session today. So no need to wait until the end. Whether we will either answer it in writing, or if your question is broadly applicable, we will answer it live during the Q&A session. Given the size of our audience, we will not be able to accommodate live questions, and we also will not be able to respond to raised hands. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick off our agenda and hand the floor over to Mandy for the CEO Insight section. Mandy?
Thank you so much, Hilary, and thank you to everyone for joining us today. It is genuinely heartening to see such strong engagement and such a large number of registrations for this webinar, which tells me that despite the noise around the carbon markets, your presence is very important because people still care deeply about getting this right. Your questions, your critiques, your suggestions are essential to our continuous improvement. And if this market is to grow to meet the climate goals we're all working toward, then we all must succeed together. And that is the belief that sits at the heart of our 2026 strategy. So please do fill in that survey. Please tell us about what you're hearing today and whether there are things that you're hearing that we are going down the wrong track. I'm more than happy to hear from you. But before I look ahead, I do want to briefly reflect on 2025. We all know it was a year of political turbulence and economic uncertainty, which to me increasingly feels more and more like the norm. The climate crisis, though, does not pause for elections or policy debates. Its impacts continue to show up everywhere. And that is a reality that has sharpened why our market exists and why our market is so important. Because carbon markets translate into measurable outcomes and commitments to action, and they channel capital, and this is the most important part, is channels capital towards real on-the-ground impact, which you're all working towards. So against that backdrop, 2025 was a year of steady and quietly consequential progress at Verra. First, we strengthened our government engagement strategy to bring governments and the voluntary market closer. Our alignment with Article 6.2 of the Paris Agreement, together with full approval from the CORSIA framework, means that our VCS program has evolved to not just focus on voluntary markets, which continue to be extremely important, but to increasingly serve as a foundation and an accelerator for compliance efforts. Our registry is ready with those Article 6 and COSIA labels, so do please bring them on. Secondly, we double down on our digital transformation, accelerated through partnerships with Hedera, with S&P Global, and other key partners. And this enhanced our efforts on DMRV scaling, streamlining project registration and verification. And I just want to say that Verra does not live by PDF documents alone, as a recent article seems to allude. We are moving in the direction of fully digitizing where we can and where it makes sense. And we do encourage, therefore, your uptake of these digital tools. And as always, your feedback is crucial to continuous improvement. We appreciated the feedback we got on Project Hub, and please keep it coming because it helps us with that improvement. And thirdly, we continue to operationalize quality and integrity, increasing our portfolio of ICVCM approved methodologies to 10. We released risk maps for our RED methodology for 6 jurisdictions. As you all know, we launched version 5 of the VCS program and completed the groundwork to launch version 1 of our Scope 3 program in 2026, among a number of other areas that we focused on. And we've also heard you about reducing uncertainty around these MET updates and transition, and are working to improve that as well. Finally, and very deliberately, in 2025, we focused on financial resilience. As previously shared, strategic investments made in 2024 resulted in a $19 million loss in that year. So when I joined, restoring financial stability was amongst my most urgent priorities. We took some extremely tough decisions in Verra, and those decisions have led to a tangible course correction. We don't usually share our financials until they're audited. They will be audited in the coming months. But given the largely exaggerated rumors of our demise, to quote Mark Twain, and also our confidence in the story these rough figures tell us about Verra's operations and stability, we thought it apt to share in this first webinar of the year. Despite a softer market-wide issuance environment, which you've all seen, our revenue grew close to double digits year over year. Development work, including grants, became a meaningful part of our financial picture, and we do expect this to expand further in 2026. On the cost side, we reduced annual expenses by approximately a third, which is quite staggering. What has this resulted in? Losses reduced to around approximately $1 million, and we had a cash neutral year. So it's an extraordinary turnaround if you think about where we were in 2024. Verra is now on sustainable financial footing with strong cash reserves, really thanks to the strong discipline, the teamwork across the organization. And so building on that in 2026, the systems we've built, the lessons we've learned, must now help to transform this market into one that is not only trusted. Trusted needs to be the norm, but is genuinely transformational. A market capable of delivering on these twin goals of decarbonization and strong positive socioeconomic impact. So we will continue to deliver best-in-class standards, methodologies, and tools grounded in 2 decades of lived experience and testing. We've been tested, largely shaped by your feedback, which has gone into getting Verra to where it is. We will continue to bridge voluntary and compliance markets. Carbon markets cannot scale in silos, so in the lines between them already blurring, I always talk about dropping the V. So the VCS program plays a critical role in building coherence across the systems of compliance and voluntary. We will continue to digitize for speed, efficiency, and scale because transparency and data integrity are foundational to trust. And then we will continue to invest in fit-for-purpose partnerships. As I often quote, going alone, you may go fast, but going together, we will go a lot further. The following speakers that come after me will go into detail into each of these areas. But before I close, I wanted to end where I began, and that is, why does this work that we all do matter? Last year, a project partner described the stakes to me very simply. They weren't talking about frameworks or labels or myth updates. They were talking about where the funding would arrive in time to keep people employed, to keep monitoring system teams on the field, and to honor long-term commitments. It was a quiet reminder that this work that we do shows up in very real places for very real people. That's why even in turbulent years, this market cannot pause, and why the foundational work we've done in 2025 matters as we move into 2026. Scaling this market is not just about growth for the sake of growth. It's about these real outcomes, the real tangible action that we see. And we know we have to improve. And as we work through these improvements for delivering action with high integrity, we are extremely grateful to be doing this alongside all of you. Thank you, and back to you, Hilary.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that, Mandy. So next on the agenda, we will begin the round robin section from each department chief, who will detail what you can expect from their specific areas in 2026. So first up is Justin Wheeler, Chief Program Management Officer. Over to you, Justin.
Thanks, Hilary, and thanks, everyone. For 2026, our department has a few major priorities. Yeah, thanks. The first is launching the new Verra registry. We've been talking about this since last summer. Second, of course, continuing to improve project reviews, strengthening VVB performance, and addressing project credit quality. I'll share a bit more info on each of these. So our biggest near-term milestone is the rollout of our next generation registry platform developed with our service provider, S&P Global. This is the most significant technology upgrade we've undertaken, and it will directly reduce duplication, improve speed, and strengthen integration across the carbon market. The new registry is going to roll out in 2 phases. So we have a foundational phase with the initial release, and then the second phase, which will be a series of releases for the remainder of 2026. We're in the final stages of development and testing now. You've probably gotten an auto reply from our registry inbox about their testing and asking for some patience while they complete that. And we're just locking in the transition date, so we'll communicate that soon. It will be in Q2 of this year, though. So what does this mean for project proponents and other registry users? Simply less time on administration to give you more time on project impact. Specifically, users will experience two-way integration with the Verra Project Hub, allowing project documents and lifecycle steps to move with far less duplication and manual steps. It'll enable an expanded digitalization and system connectivity, helping accelerate verification and credit issuance, including transaction-ready APIs, which will enable automated transfers and retirements and support high-volume market activity without disruption. It'll include better reporting tools and transparency, giving buyers and market participants deeper visibility into project-level data. And importantly, it includes infrastructure for future innovations, including expanded Article 6 and CORSIA functionality. In the coming months, we'll share specific training, onboarding materials, and clear steps to help you prepare for the cutover. And I want to thank all of our registry users for their patience. Our team has been running our current system while simultaneously building the new one, and your feedback has helped shape these improvements. The next and our ongoing #1 priority is continuing to improve our project reviews. This is the service area where we hear the clearest message, and we've heard it for a long time, that you want faster, more predictable timelines, clearer insights into where each review stands, while maintaining the credibility that will enable you to get maximum value for your hard-earned credits. In 2025, we were able to reduce our review times by 30 to 70%, depending on the review type. And this year, our goal is to meet or outperform our SLAs, or service level agreements, in 95% of cases, and reduce our review average times by at least 20% further below the 2025 levels. Here's how we'll get there. We've implemented the updated service level agreements, or SLAs, that we released last fall to better reflect the true drivers of review timelines. So you see those now in the Project Hub with your requests. We're digitizing our internal processes, standardizing our review findings, and our report exchanges with VVBs, which will improve consistency and reduce the number of back and forths needed to close a review. We're optimizing internal workflows and introducing more automation and digital augmentation where it helps free up reviewer capacity. And we've implemented a review prioritization fee, which allows proponents with urgent needs to request faster service for a fee. And importantly, these proceeds are fully reinvested into additional review capacity so that it speeds up both those priority requests and the standard review queues. Finally, and this is ongoing, we're leveraging the data from the last 14 months of risk-based assurance processes and our VVB scorecards to further optimize our risk assessments and our associated review focus areas. We're also implementing VCS version 5, which you'll hear about in a few minutes. And we're excited to begin reviews now of our DMRV, or digital monitoring, reporting and verification pilot projects, our nature framework projects, and our scope 3 projects for the first time this year. The last two priorities are strengthening VVB performance and addressing credit quality. So on the VVB performance side, we're enhancing the performance of our validation and verification bodies through the ongoing implementation of the VVB performance management system. Stronger VVB work upstream directly reduces Verra's review times downstream and improves the confidence in the credits. Our audit and accreditation team is finalizing VVB scorecards for 2025, and we'll publish both the 2024 and the 2025 results this quarter, or potentially early next quarter, but targeting this quarter. These scorecards will provide visibility into the performance and help drive improvements across the ecosystem. We'll also be consulting on new consolidated VVB requirements guidance document. This will clarify and standardize expectations across all Verra programs. The goal is consistent quality, fewer avoidable findings, and ultimately faster reviews for you. Fourth, on project credit quality, we're focused on responsibly addressing credit quality concerns when they arise outside the normal review cycle. These cases are rare, sensitive, and often complex, but it's important that we tackle them when they arise to maintain trust in the system. This work typically includes targeted quality control reviews, and if necessary, requiring project proponents to replace credits if they were issued in excess of what was justified under the program rules. This year, we're updating our processes for communicating these reviews and their outcomes, including releasing some clearer FAQs, or frequently asked questions, on our website, more defined communication protocols for all affected stakeholders, and improved transparency based on the lessons learned of the past couple of years. We know this is a challenging topic. We genuinely appreciate the constructive conversations many of you have had with us about how to improve in this area. Our commitment continues to be to do what is right, even when it's hard, and to handle these reviews with fairness, consistency, and transparency. So in summary, we have a full and ambitious agenda on the program management side, launching the new registry, reducing review timelines, improving VVB performance, and strengthening credit quality processes. Across all of this, our underlying goal remains the same: delivering fast, clear, and predictable service to the projects doing the critical work on the ground. I want to thank you for your partnership, your feedback, and the work you do every day. And I'll hand it over to Candice to speak about program development and innovation.
Great, thanks, Justin. So let me kick things off with a quick look at what's ahead for the VCS program in 2026. So as many of you know, we released version 5 of the VCS standard in mid-December. So this year is really going to be about bringing that update to life. Our main focus is making sure projects have everything they need to implement the new requirements, things like updated templates and digital tools that make the process smoother. A good example is the new stakeholder engagement plan template, which will be part of that package. And the goal is to make expectations clearer and the certification process more efficient for everyone. We're also rolling out a series of trainings to help stakeholders get comfortable with the changes. The first one is coming up soon, a webinar overview of version 5 on February 4th at 10 a.m. Eastern. If you're interested, you can sign up online, and we'd really encourage anyone working with the program to join. Beyond that, we're not planning any major updates to the VCS program this year. Version 5 was a big release, so 2026 is about supporting it, answering questions, and making sure it's working well in practice. That said, we may issue corrections or clarifications if needed, and we'll likely start consultations to inform future improvements. So in terms of VCS program development, this year is therefore about stability, support, and making sure version 5 is fully and effectively implemented. So moving on to what's ahead for VCS methodologies. The next deadline for submitting methodology idea notes is January 31st. Anything submitted by the end of this week will be reviewed by March 31st, so stakeholders will get timely feedback and clarity on whether their ideas can move forward. As we look across the methodology portfolio, we'll continue to place an emphasis on the areas we can have the biggest impact. In practice, that means spending more time nurturing the methodologies that already have strong project pipelines, and some of those may need targeted revisions, and we'll be prioritizing those updates where they can unlock meaningful progress. We're also planning to put more focus on helping stakeholders build the skills and understanding they need to use these methodologies effectively. So you'll see more capacity building efforts tied to the methodologies that are driving the most activity. So overall, the theme here is focus, making sure our time and resources go towards the opportunities that can deliver the greatest climate impact. Now I'll shift over to RED. To start, we're prioritizing updates to VMD 55 that will enable RED projects to include sustainable forest management practices. Those updates are on track for release in Q2, and they will complement other VM48 related work by expanding project eligibility under the RED framework. We're continuing to advance the avoided planned deforestation and avoided unplanned degradation modules under VM48, and we're planning for consultations on these this year. And you may have also seen that we made final risk maps available for the Brazilian states of Amazonas, Acre, and Rondônia at the beginning of this month. I do want to pause here for a moment, though, and acknowledge the timeline shifts related to the release of activity data. We know it's been frustrating, and we've been getting some questions about the latest band-based approach. So we wanted to be clear that the dates we've most recently set are intentionally conservative, but our goal is to absolutely to over-deliver wherever we can. And a big part of why we're more confident now is that we have 2 full years of experience developing high-quality activity data, and that experience has shown us where we can streamline, and it's allowing us to start producing the data at scale. And speaking of risk maps, I'm happy to share that you can expect new maps for Colombia, Cambodia, Guatemala, and Mayan-Dombe by the end of this quarter. And last, all of this work is setting the stage for major milestones. We're aiming for the first issuances under VM48 this year, along with the first JNR program coming through. So overall, it'll be a year of moving from development into delivery across the RED portfolio. So moving on from the VCS program, I'd like to shift to some of our other programs, starting with the Scope 3 program. One of our main priorities for the year is releasing version 1 of the program. Phase 1 of version 1 will be released in the coming months, and it'll allow pipeline listing under an initial set of 2 to 3 methodologies, with more to follow in subsequent months. It'll also be fully digitally native, with all key program documents available through the Verra Project Hub. And then once phase 1 is out, our attention will turn to completing phase 2 of version 1, which we're aiming to launch in late 2026. Phase 2 is where the program really comes operational. It'll enable validation and registration of pipeline listed interventions, as well as verification and issuance of intervention units. Then in parallel, we're also working on version 2 of the Scope 3 standard program. This next version will focus on developing a strategy for establishing the right to report across a wide range of economic sectors and supply chains. And it'll also involve alignment with external initiatives like the GHG Protocol, SBTI, and others. So it's a big year for the Scope 3 program, with version 1's planned release and version 2 getting underway. Next, I want to touch on our priorities for the plastics program. So one of the big areas we're focusing on is expanding the program so it can link more directly with extended producer responsibility, or EPR programs. We're working on updates that will help facilitate that alignment. We're also exploring the potential to expand the program to cover avoided upstream plastic production, which could open up an important new area of impact. We plan to host a public consultation in the second half of 2026. That will be a key opportunity for stakeholders to weigh in on the direction of the program and help shape how these changes take form. So for the plastics program, this year is about strengthening the program's connection to compliance systems and laying the groundwork for thoughtful strategic growth. And then finally, I want to touch on our sustainable development programs and what we're focusing on this year, specifically the Sustainable Development Verified Impact Standard and the Climate Community and Biodiversity Standards. Now that VCS version 5 is out, we're taking a step back to look at these complementary programs and assess how they may need to evolve to stay aligned. Both SD Vista and the CCB standards play important roles alongside the VCS program, so ensuring coherence across all three is a priority for us. We're currently reviewing where updates may be needed, and depending on what we learn, we may begin a consultation process later this year. The goal is to make sure these programs continue to reinforce each other and remain strong, credible tools for projects to demonstrate broader sustainable development benefits. So for these programs, this year is about alignment and thoughtful evolution, making sure our sustainable development programs move forward in step with the broader system. And with that, I'll now hand it over to Joe, Chief Technology Officer.
Great. Thank you, Candace. And it's great to see everybody, albeit virtually, and really appreciate the engagement today. It's thrilling to hear from Justin, Candace, and shortly Hillary to see how embedded our digitization strategy is into all of our initiatives. And so I hope you're as excited about that as I am. And before we get into the details of our 2026 IT priorities, I want to start with what's guiding our work. Over the past year, we've clearly heard what you need: tools that are easier to use, systems that integrate seamlessly, a project hub platform that is more stable with fewer glitches, and experience that delivers greater transparency, faster turnaround times, and timely responsive support. I think those are all ambitious goals for us, and everything I'm about to talk to you today goes through and explains how we are working to meet these expectations. Our goal is simple: make your experience smoother, clearer, and faster, and do it in a way that scales the entire market for the future. So with that, our IT roadmap is built to remove friction and enable operational excellence across Verra and for all of you, our stakeholders. First, we're working to achieve end-to-end digitization across the project workflow, including digital monitoring, reporting, and verification, or DMRV, methodology digitization, and automated review steps, as Justin alluded to. This means fewer manual handoffs and easier navigation, and hopefully quicker review times as well. Second, we're modernizing our platform ecosystem. We are partnering to migrate the Verra registry to the S&P platform. And separately, we are also working with Hillary and team to introduce a unified customer relationship management system, or a CRM, for better coordination and resolution of your requests, and extending the capabilities of APIs that allow data to flow more cleanly between systems. These efforts are really foundational for long-term scalability. Third, we're really leaning into innovation. So AI-powered productivity tools, our long-term monitoring system, and deeper third-party data integration. We believe all of these will help us make the reviews of your projects faster, more consistent, and significantly more predictable. So I think as Hillary or Mandy alluded to, we recently sent a survey on the Project Hub, and we received over 120 responses. So I want to thank you to those who took the time to complete the survey. And your feedback is invaluable, and we're open to hearing at any time. The survey results showed that the overall neutral to positive reaction is 70%. So I think that's clear validation that we're moving in the right direction, but also highlighting that there's meaningful opportunities for continued improvement. For those of you that provided an email address, our plan is to follow up directly with you to address the inability to access the Project Hub, offer additional training, or work to resolve blocking issues. And then the survey responses reflected the desire to see improvement and user friendliness, expanded training materials, fewer glitches that I alluded to earlier, an improved non-permanence risk tool, integrated Project Hub and registry functions, streamlined notifications, and increased technical support. Know that our team is working hard to ensure all this feedback is accounted for with a corresponding action plan included as part of our 2026 roadmap, and expect future updates on our progress. So part of that feedback included, how can we better navigate the Project Hub? So recently, we've added a Project Hub overview page on our website, verra.org. So as you can see there in the picture on the right, the overview page includes feature descriptions, links to digitized methodologies, and short demo videos that walk through common tasks. So again, on the picture on the right there, if you go to verra.org, you can see the two tabs at the top, one for the registry, one for the Project Hub. On the Project Hub dropdown, there's a login, which will take you directly to the Project Hub. And then that bottom dropdown is the overview. So you click on that and you'll find this additional information. We do want to ensure everyone knows where to find information and training as we continue to improve. And as noted, you can also access the Project Hub directly from the Verra homepage. For those of you looking for training resources, the YouTube playlist covers a broad range of Project Hub capabilities and is the fastest and easiest way to become acquainted with the tools. It covers navigation, submissions, and core functions in just a few minutes. And again, if you have any feedback on those playlists, please let us know. Okay, shifting gears a bit. A key focus this year is the continued expansion of our portfolio of digitized methodologies. So as you can see, we've now digitized 24, and most recently we've launched VM42 version 2.1 for improved agricultural land management on the Hedera platform. And then coming soon are VM008 version 1.2 for weatherization, and ACM001 V19 for landfill gas. Those will be deployed on the Project Hub. And VM50 version 1.0 for cook stoves, and AMS 2.c for demand side efficiency. We're working on launching those in collaboration with Hedera. I know we had a number of stakeholders reach out to us mid last year around VM008, and we'll look forward to collaborating with you soon on that one. Okay, so digitization isn't about modernizing for the sake of modernization. It's about reducing back and forth cycles and enabling automation where possible so reviews become faster and more consistent. This is one of the clearest examples of how technology can improve both quality and timelines, and I hope you'll agree with me with that. To conclude today, and as I've shared before, we are here to support your transition to the Project Hub. If you need access, if you have an issue, or want to offer enhancement ideas, please email hubsupport@verra.org. It goes directly to our team, and we're working hard to make sure we are responsive to those requests. Again, to get oriented, the Project Hub overview page and demo video playlist remain the best starting points. As always, your feedback shapes our roadmap, and we encourage you to keep sending it. In short, 2026 is about making your experience using Verra systems better, faster, and more predictable and reliable, grounded in what you've told us matters. And thank you for your ongoing partnership, and we look forward to continuing this work with you. Look forward to sharing updates soon, and back to you, Hillary.
Thank you, Joe, and thank you to the others for an overview of all the things we're focused on in 2026. So I'm going to end this section. I'm going to keep it fairly brief, and I just have one slide, working on keeping it simple. But I'm going to share 3 priorities with you all today around our communications and engagement at Verra. So our first priority is continuing to improve our client experience so that every touch you have with us is helpful in advancing your mission and in boosting our combined impact in the climate action space. In 2025, we met our 3-day SLA response SLA for 99% of the emails that we received to secretariat@verra.org. In 2026, we will continue that, and we are also going to implement a new CRM, or a customer relationship management system. So for you, this means faster answers to all of your questions, a better record of all of your interactions with Verra across all departments, more clarity on the best entry point into Verra, again, for faster responses, and less duplication as we work across teams to support your queries. But beyond supporting your queries, we're also working on other elements to make your client experience with us better. So we will be boosting our capacity building programs. We want to provide more access to trainings, live Q&A sessions, office hours with our experts, and support materials to better help you navigate Verra's many programs, methodologies, and processes, and make sure that you have the support that you need for your process to move ahead successfully. We also want to identify more opportunities for proactive communications throughout the project lifecycle, designed specifically to support you with where you are in your project. So for example, say you were going to submit a pipeline listing for your VM42 project, you would then receive an automated email with the top 10 issues we see with VM42 projects and how to fix them, a link to FAQs, and details on other resources that might be helpful for you in the support of your project. So these are kind of the proactive touch points that we'll be identifying and executing on in the year ahead. Our second priority is on global alignment and continuing to close the perceived gap between the voluntary and client and compliance markets to ensure that there's a strong demand signal. This was something that Mandy talked about at the beginning that was a focus of ours in 2025 as well, and we will be continuing that work in 2026. So we have prioritized structured engagement with governments to clarify and operationalize requirements related to Article 6.2 and also to CORSIA, including authorization, corresponding adjustments, and reporting. And in parallel, and several of you have already asked this in the Q&A, in parallel, we are working internally on updates to Article 6 and CORSIA label guidance to make all of the process much clearer and help you understand how to have a successful process there. And we expect to publish that in early February. So stay tuned for that. So together, this work reinforces Verra's Article 6 aligned approach and aims to reduce uncertainty at the government level while improving predictability for project proponents as countries implement these frameworks. We are also going to be engaging deeply with governments who are developing or implementing domestic, regulated, international, or voluntary carbon market regulations with the aim of achieving acceptance and ideally explicit recognition of the VCS program. This work includes capacity building, technical exchanges, the support of regulatory drafting and interpretation, and again, helps clear pathways for VCS, VVBs, PPs, and buyers across multiple jurisdictions. Our third priority is to continue innovative initiatives to shift the narrative on carbon markets. So if all of us know nature is one of our best tools to combat climate change, however, the persistent stream of negative or incomplete media coverage has distorted public perception, it has eroded confidence in some buyers, and slowed investments in projects that protect forests, restore ecosystems, and create livelihoods. I know we're preaching to the choir here that this work is important, but this is an area that we will continue focusing on in 2026. We really want to do our part to make sure that in collaboration with our partners to ensure that public conversation on carbon markets and climate solutions reflect accurate progress and the changes that are happening in the market, ultimately helping to sustain climate finance flows to the people and places that need them the most. So I know that was fast, but we have a lot of questions today and we want to make sure that we have enough time to get to them. So I'm going to stop our round robin priorities right now, and we'll open the floor to Q&As. Our team has already been very busy answering your questions in writing, but now we can go ahead and take some of those live. So just a reminder, you can type it into the Q&A console, and I will open this up. Okay, first question here is, CDM will cease in 2026. What are the eligible methodologies and tools to use for VCS? Can we still use VCS approved CDM methods for VCS? Any transition plan for applied CDM methods tools to VCS methods tools? Candice, did you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure. I'm happy to answer this question. So the CDM methodologies that are considered active, meaning that they can be used in the VCS program, are listed on our website. And at the moment, those CDM methods remain active, but we may further revise or replace them over time. CDM methods, just like other methods used under the VCS program, are also subject to the 5-year quality review process in our MDRP and might be inactivated if there is no or low use. And I think that's what I can share.
Excellent. Next one, when is VM7? Oh, I think Katie, you might be answering this one in writing.
Yeah,
all right.
I'm about to.
Okay, perfect.
Hilary, can I suggest that Katie do the activity data questions? Because there's quite a number of them, then she can just answer that collectively.
Perfect. Katie, if you just want to take those all live.
Sure. Apologies, I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to answer live all of the individual questions about individual jurisdictions because there are a number of them. I did answer one question and I included the link to the timetable. I think probably everyone has that, but just to make sure that you look at that. I do want to say, I think there's been a little bit of confusion. All of the jurisdictions that haven't yet been mapped, I believe say TBD for the final data, the VMD 55 compliant risk maps. So when you're looking at that, at the table on that webpage, please look at the second to last column for open access data. That's the column that lists the bands, which are described right above the table. So we've gotten a number of questions in the chat about jurisdictions that are in band 4. Band 4 right now is scheduled to have provisional open access data available by February 2027 at the latest. As Candice said earlier, we're trying to be conservative with these estimates. At least some of those jurisdictions in band 4 will be available sooner than that, and we're working on them as quickly as we can. The reason that the VMD 55 compliant data column says TBD is because the final data and the time that takes is a little bit dependent on the review, the final review of the provisional data, and the comments that we get on the provisional data and how much time and effort it takes to address all of those comments and address anything that might come up in the reviews. And I think that's kind of a broad brush answer to all of the questions. I'm also trying to type an answer to the questions about individual jurisdictions.
Okay. Did you want to take any of those live, Katie, just for the benefit of others?
I don't. There's so many of them that I think about specific jurisdictions that I think I should answer them one by one. I'm afraid if I take them live, I'll miss some of them.
Okay.
So I will type an answer to all of them.
If you're missing any in there, I'll flag it.
Okay,
I'll flag
thanks.
it again. All right. Let's see. Here's a question on VCS version 5 on when specific tools under VCS version 5 will be available. So specifically, VCS environmental, social, and governance risk assessment template, a FOLU buffer deed, geolocation file preparation tool, VCS stakeholder engagement plan template. Sinclair or Candice, did one of you want to take this one?
Sure, happy to take this one, and thanks for asking about these. These are key components of VCS version 5 that are under development now that the requirements are in place. So most of those will be available either at the end of this quarter or very beginning of Q2, but we'll keep you updated as they start to roll out, and also putting together a resources page for VCS version 5 so that you have one place to kind of go to and check out when these last pieces of development are ready for you.
Okay, I'm going to keep you on the hot seat, Sinclair, because there's a couple more about version 5.
Sure.
Let's see. So a question about timelines that you just answered. Another question, will I need to switch to version 5 when submitting it for registration before 1 Jan 2027?
Yeah, so in general, projects that are already registered before January 1 of 2027 can continue to apply most of the version 4 requirements until their next crediting period renewal or verification, which includes a baseline reassessment that occurs after January 1 of 2027. We do have an effective dates document that has all of the different changes from VCS 4.7 to 5.0, and their very specific effective dates and how they affect existing projects versus new projects. I have put the link into the response to a number of questions, so I'll keep doing that and make sure that you have access to that document. We'll also be hosting a webinar on VCS version 5, as Candace mentioned, next week, where we'll be talking about effective dates even more specifically, and then more targeted webinars on specific changes in version 5. So we'll be able to do deeper dives on each one of those requirements. But do let us know if you have questions on effective dates or how version 5 may or may not affect you. We're also developing frequently asked question sheets and things like that so that you're not confused about those requirements and not feeling pressure to get your validation or verification done within a timeline that isn't feasible. So please do send us those questions.
Okay. And then another one that you may have already answered, but I'll just read it again in case there's a new element here. For projects that are just starting with a start date in 2025, will it be necessary to migrate to VCS 5 standard if the validation process is not yet complete?
It is likely that they would need to transition, but again, it does really depend on the specifics of the project, and we're happy to help sort that out for you if the effective dates document is not clear on those specific requirements. But like I said, some activities that have already begun, it may well be that version 4 is still applicable to you until your baseline reassessment occurs or your crediting period renewal, which would happen in one of your future verifications.
Okay. I might call you again if more come up, but I think that's it for now. Now I'll shift over to either Joe or Venkatesh. Is it possible to use the Project Hub and digital methodologies as part of the project development and preparation stage, i.e. before any official submission occurs?
Thanks, Hillary. So yes, in Project Hub, first we need to have access. Any registry account holder can request access to Project Hub. Once you have access, you can start creating project documents, monitoring report, or any other forms digitally that are available in the Project Hub. So yes.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Let me see. There's a question here about if Verra is planning to seek recognition under the EU CRCF framework as an eligible certification scheme, and I can share that we are actively looking into that. Let's see. Okay, here's another question that might be for you too, Venkatesh, or for Justin. Can corporate buyers request access to project hubs for projects that they need to do a pre-purchase due diligence so they can view some information? Oops, sorry, I lost the question as more are coming in. I'll see if I can find it. But in the meantime, who wants to take that one? So they can view some information that is not on the public registry. That was the end of that question.
Okay, I'll take that one as well.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So for corporate buyers, essentially what we are seeing is cross-account access So right now, if you have a registry account, you can see your records and emission reductions. But we have a product called Data API that will allow you to navigate through all the projects, their validation, verification events, and emission records. So that is available via Project Hub in the Data API product.
Excellent. Thank you, Venkatesh. So we're getting some.
Sorry, Hillary, I'll maybe just add
Oh, go ahead.
quickly that for non-public data, you have to work with the project proponents. We do have the ability to enter into communications agreements. So if you're an investor or something like that, you can get a communications agreement with the project proponent to see more detailed view of the project documents than just what's available publicly.
Excellent. So we do have a number of questions about the best place, the best entry point into Verra. How can we make sure our question is answered promptly? Where is the best port of call? The best place that you can go to get your answers question within our 3-day SLA is secretariat@verra.org. We do answer 99% of those queries within 3 days. So if you're looking for the best port of call for an initial question with Verra, please email secretariat@verra.org. All right, another question on timelines. When will version 5.0 of the VCS project description template be available? If I use 4.4 now, will I need to switch to version 5 when submitting it for registration before 1 Jan? Sinclair?
Yes, so the templates we are working on now, and those should be available towards the end of this quarter or beginning of second quarter. So that's what you should be looking out for the project description template. And then again, on the question on when exactly you need to switch over your project, it does really depend on your project start date, what activities have already been underway, and what initiations you may have already had in terms of the registry and listing or validation processes. So I'll point you again to the effective dates document, and please feel free to send us your specific project circumstances via email, as Hillary mentioned, to secretariat@verra.org, and we're happy to help you navigate those effective dates.
Okay. Another question, let's see, this one is on the issue of plastics. Is there a way to list and register a project to channel the accumulated quantity of plastics to an appropriate final destination now that the market that purchased this waste has closed in one location? The plastics are piled up, but there is no alternative to send them to a landfill without recycling or circular economy or value add process.
Yeah, me again. So great question on plastics. In general, again, without knowing your exact details of what the project could entail, in general, yes, that is a pathway that can be pursued under the plastic program. As the question indicates, if there is not an appropriate kind of in destination, you need that finance to be able to reach an appropriate in destination, it would generally qualify. But happy to answer the question with more details or talk you through that specific requirements. Again, you can reach out to secretariat@verra.org and we can jump on those technical details.
Okay. Excuse me. All right. Let's see. There are a couple timeline questions, Katie. I know you're kind of feverishly working in the background on these. There's a question on when will VMD 00555 tool to calculate the emissions and VCUs be launched?
I saw that, and I'm not actually clear on that question. If the person that wrote that question could type a clarifying follow-up, that would be helpful.
Okay, excellent. All right. There are some questions I will just acknowledge. There are some questions in the chat that the team is working on getting answers to. So we will get back to those as soon as we hear from the experts on those. Let's see. See if there's any that are not being researched now that we could call out. Question, maybe Candace, you could take this one. Do we plan any revision and updates on VM47 in 2026?
I think Katie would probably be best positioned to answer this one. Katie, do you have any thoughts on?
Sorry, Hillary, say that, repeat that if you would.
Do we have any planned updates to VM47 this year?
We are about to start working on a minor correction and clarification. So no major updates whatsoever planned for this year.
Okay. Let's see.
Hillary, we're also aware that the link that Sinclair posted on the VCS5 update is not working, so we're just working to post the correct link on that.
Okay. There's also a question about the timeline for the release of the SRN technical guidelines for VCS projects based in Indonesia. So someone wanting to know when that will be released. We don't have a date. All we can say is that we're actively working with the Indonesian government on that, and we're trying to go as quickly as possible. But we're very much in active collaboration with them on that, but do not have a date that we can share at this time. Okay. So if there are no other questions, then we may go ahead and wrap for the day. If you have not,
Justin can take the CORSIA questions.
Am I missing them?
It's okay, he's seen them, so he can answer.
Yeah.
Some might
Okay.
have gotten answered in writing. We're all curiously responding.
Okay.
There's a couple of questions about CORSIA labels and eligibility, and I think part of this stems from there being two parts to the label for first phase CORSIA first phase use. So a credit can be labeled as CORSIA first phase scope if it's of the right credit type and vintage and those sorts of things. And then the credit label flips to CORSIA first phase eligible once it has an approved LOA and insurance provider or assurance of no double counting. And more information on that can be found under VCU labels. So if you go to the Verra program page and click VCU labels, and then under market labels is the CORSIA program information for credit labels.
Okay. There's another question while you're on camera and off mute for you, Justin. What kind of changes are expected in the release of the new registry, and will we still have access to the docs? I'm assuming they're meaning docs from the previous registry.
Yeah, so maybe the last part first. Yes, all program documents, project documents, and data will be transitioned from the current registry over to the new registry. So that's one of the things we're testing right now, is making sure that all that data gets transferred fully with no losses. So yes, you'll still have access to those things. The registry is going to come in a couple phases. So the first thing you'll notice is just slightly different layout, some more advanced reporting features, a bit of customization on how you generate summary data on project credits and project information. And then there'll be phased releases with enhanced capabilities. There's been a couple of questions related to APIs. So this will be a fully API enabled registry, which I forget what that even stands for. Banktesh could answer that, but basically it enables other platforms to link directly to the registry rather than exchanges or other users having to manually do things in the registry account to reflect what's happening in their exchange account. So it enables more efficient management of transfers and retirements. And then we'll also have data APIs enabled, which we have a few of those right now, but it'll be more of a standard connection platform for data access to external partners. So there's dozens and dozens of individual kind of pain points that will be addressed that I can't list off the top of my head, but you'll notice the look and feel will be the first thing you notice as a user on the new platform.
Okay, Justin. And there is a new question that was just typed in on VCU labels. I'm not sure if you're able to answer that one or if we'll need to get back to them. It's
So,
is my understanding.
for the
Yeah,
CORSIA
you go
one.
ahead. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so if you have a CORSIA scope label, yes, that credit can still be transferred and retired like a normal credit. It cannot be retired towards CORSIA first phase retirement reason until it has that CORSIA eligibility. So it still operates like a normal credit. It's just an indicator of being in scope until it has that full eligibility. Then it can be retired for a CORSIA retirement reason.
Okay.
And yes,
All right.
there was a second part to that. Yes, a credit can have an Article 6 label and a CORSIA label. Those things are complementary, not competing.
Okay. Well, that brings us to time. There are a few questions that are pending that we're still waiting on answers for, and we will respond to those answers in writing from our Secretariat account. But for now, I want to say thank you, everyone, for your time today. Thank you for joining our first Stakeholder Update webinar of the year. Again, we will have 3 more of these in April, July, and October, and registration is open for those now on the Verra website events section. In the meantime, we will be sending a recap with recording and slide deck for all registrants to all of you within the next couple of days. So thank you guys all very much for your participation. I think we broke a Q&A record here, and I wish you all a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.